I brought my wife flowers to surprise her. She laughed in my face, mocked me in front of her friends like I was pathetic. So I gave them to her friend instead, and she lit up. That one moment started a chain reaction that exposed 20 years of lies, a secret lover, and a truth that destroyed everything I thought I knew about my marriage. My name is Roland Harper. I'm 46 years old, and I've spent the last 2 decades working as a treasury manager for one of the largest energy corporations in Texas. It's steady work, good money, the kind of career that lets you provide for your family without thinking twice. I met Darlene at a company mixer back in 2004. She was vibrant, funny, always the center of attention. I fell hard and fast. We got married within a year, had Courtney a year after that, then Jordan 3 years later. Life felt complete. But somewhere along the way, things shifted. I can't pinpoint exactly when. Maybe it was gradual like erosion. Or maybe I just stopped paying attention. Darlene started spending more time with her friends. Girls' nights became girls' weekends. I told myself it was healthy. She needed her space. I had my work. The kids had school and sports. We were all busy. That's what families do, right? They orbit around each other, occasionally colliding at dinner or on holidays. Last Tuesday, I left work early. Not because anything was wrong, but because I wanted to do something nice. Spontaneous. Romantic, even. I stopped by a florist on Westheimer and picked out a bouquet of pink roses and white lilies. They reminded me of our wedding. Darlene carried white lilies down the aisle. I thought she'd remember. When I walked through the front door, I heard laughter coming from the living room. High-pitched, wine-fueled laughter. Darlene was hosting another one of her get-togethers. Her friends were there. Shannon, perpetually divorced and bitter about it. Claire, whose husband left her for his assistant, and someone I didn't recognize. A new face, younger than the others, with dark hair and kind eyes. I hesitated in the hallway, holding the bouquet like an idiot. Then I stepped into the living room. "Hey," I said, offering a smile. "I brought you something." Darlene turned from the couch, wine glass in hand. Her eyes landed on the flowers, and, for a split second, I thought I saw something soften in her expression. But it vanished just as quickly. "Oh my God," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Flowers? What is this, 1995? Roland, nobody does flowers anymore." Shannon snorted into her wine. Claire smirked. The new woman, though, didn't laugh. She just looked at me with something I hadn't felt in years. Sympathy. "I thought you'd like them," I said quietly, still holding the bouquet. "Like them?" Darlene laughed again, sharper this time. "Honey, I'm not your grandmother. Next time, just Venmo me for a spa day or something useful." The room erupted in laughter. All except the new woman. She stood up slowly, walked over to me, and spoke in a voice that cut through the noise. "I think they're beautiful," she said. "If someone gave me flowers like that, I'd be grateful." Her name was Elena Cross. I'd learn later. A friend of a friend. New to the group. New to this kind of cruelty, too, apparently. I don't know what possessed me in that moment. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was rage. Or maybe, for the first time in years, I just wanted to be seen. I handed her the bouquet. "Then you should have them," I said. Elena's face lit up. She took the flowers gently, like they were something precious. Darlene's laughter died instantly. "You're giving my flowers to my guest?" Darlene asked, her voice tight. "They weren't yours," I replied. "You made that clear." I turned and walked upstairs before she could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. That moment, that stupid impulsive gesture, would set everything in motion. I just didn't know it yet. I sat on the edge of our bed for what felt like hours, staring at the wall. Downstairs, I could hear muffled voices, laughter that sounded forced now, uncomfortable. Good. Let them stew in it. Darlene didn't come upstairs that night. Not to apologize, not to explain, not even to yell at me. She just stayed down there with her friends until I heard cars pulling out of the driveway around 11. Then silence. She slept in the guest room. The next morning, I found her at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone with a coffee cup in hand. She was wearing the same robe she'd worn when I proposed to her 18 years ago. It used to mean something. Now it was just fabric. "We need to talk about last night," she said without looking up. I poured myself coffee, leaned against the counter. "I'm listening." "You embarrassed me in front of my friends," Darlene said, finally meeting my eyes. giving those flowers to Elena like some kind of statement. What was that supposed to prove? That someone appreciated the gesture. I replied calmly. You made it pretty clear you didn't. She set her phone down harder than necessary. It was a joke, Roland. You're too sensitive. A joke, I repeated. Right. Like when you forgot our anniversary last year. Or when you told Courtney that my job was boring compared to what real executives do. Her face flushed. I never said that. You did. At her birthday dinner. I was standing right there. Darlene stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the tile. I'm not doing this. I'm not apologizing for having friends and a sense of humor. If you can't handle a little teasing, that's your problem. She grabbed her purse and keys, heading for the door. Where are you going? I asked. Out. Some of us have lives beyond spreadsheets and martyrdom. The door slammed. I stood there in the kitchen, coffee growing cold in my hand, wondering when exactly I'd become the villain in her story. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for the flowers. They're still beautiful. I hope you're okay. Elena. I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. I'm fine. Glad you enjoyed them. Her response came quickly. If you ever need to talk, I'm around. No judgment. Something about those words, that simple offer, hit me harder than I expected. When was the last time Darlene had offered to listen? Really listen, without turning it into a complaint about me? I deleted the message thread, not because I wanted to, but because I knew if Darlene saw it, she'd twist it into something it wasn't. But the damage was already done. The crack in the foundation had widened, and I was starting to wonder what would happen when it finally split all the way through. That afternoon, Courtney came home from her shift at the bookstore. She found me in the garage, organizing tools I've been meaning to sort for months. Dad, she asked quietly. Mom told me about last night. Are you okay? I looked at my daughter, 18 years old, about to leave for college in the fall. Smart, observant, too perceptive for her own good. I'm fine, sweetheart. I lied. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. She just hugged me, quick and tight, before heading inside. And that's when I realized. My kids were watching. They've been watching for years. 3 days passed. 3 days of Darlene pretending nothing had changed while I quietly observed everything with new eyes. The way she angled her phone away from me at dinner. The way she smiled at texts she wouldn't share. The way she started taking calls in the garage or the backyard, always with an excuse about needing privacy for her book club planning. I wasn't stupid. I'd just been willfully blind. Friday evening, Darlene announced she was going to dinner with Shannon and Claire. Some new restaurant downtown. She wore a black dress I'd never seen before, heels that made her 3 inches taller, perfume that wasn't the one I'd bought her last Christmas. Don't wait up, she said, kissing my cheek with all the warmth of a business transaction. We might go for drinks after. I nodded. Have fun. After she left, I sat in my office, staring at the family computer we rarely used anymore. Everyone had their own devices now. But years ago, Darlene had synced her email to this desktop for easier access when she was working on PDA projects. I wondered if she'd ever disconnected it. I opened the browser, checked the save passwords, and there it was. Her email account, still logged in. My finger hovered over the mouse. This was a line. Once I crossed it, there was no going back. But something in my gut told me I needed to know, needed to see what I'd been ignoring. I clicked. The inbox was mostly junk. Promotional emails, newsletters, spam. But then I saw a folder labeled personal. I opened it. What I found made my stomach turn. Emails dating back 6 months. Dozens of them. All from someone named Adrian Thornhill. They started professional enough. He was a VP at a marketing firm Darlene had worked with on a freelance project last year. But the tone shifted quickly. Compliments became flirtation. Flirtation became intimacy. One email from 2 months ago made me stop breathing. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? Her response, Tuesday. Same hotel. I'll tell Roland I'm at book club. I scroll through more. Plans. Arrangements. Lies stacked on lies. The worst part, the dates matched up. Every Tuesday, she claimed to have book club. She'd been with him. My hand was shaking. I printed everything. 23 pages of evidence. Then I cleared the browser history and shut down the computer. I called my attorney. Left a voicemail. Then I called my brother in Dallas. Roland? Everything okay? He asked, concern immediate in his voice. No. I said quietly. I need you to recommend a private investigator. The best one you know. There was a pause. What's going on? I'll explain later. Just send me the contact. Within an hour, I had a name. James Cordero. Former Houston PD. Now running his own investigation firm. I sent him an email with the subject line, urgent. Infidelity case. Need surveillance. By the time Darlene came home at 1 a.m., smelling like wine and someone else's cologne, I was in bed pretending to sleep. She slipped into the guest room again. I lay there in the dark, no longer sad, no longer confused, just cold, calculating, ready. James Cordero was good at his job. Too good, maybe. Within a week, he compiled a dossier that left no room for doubt. Photos of Darlene and Adrian Thornhill entering the West Creek Hotel on 3 separate Tuesdays. Photos of them in his car, her hand on his thigh. A recording of a phone conversation where she told him she'd leave me once the kids were older and the assets were split. That last part hit different. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning, strategizing, treating our marriage like a business deal. She was waiting to exit at maximum profit. I met James at a coffee shop in Montrose, away from anywhere Darlene might see us. This enough for you? He asked, sliding the manila envelope across the table. I flipped through it. Each page was another nail in the coffin of my marriage. More than enough, I said. Send me the invoice. You okay, man? James asked. He was older, maybe mid-50s, with the kind of face that had seen too much. I will be, I replied. That night, I sat down with Courtney. Jordan was at basketball practice. Darlene was out again, this time claiming she had yoga. I'd stopped believing anything she said. Sweetheart, I need to tell you something. I started carefully. Courtney looked up from her laptop, worried. Is everything okay? No, it's not. I took a breath. Your mother's been having an affair. I have proof. I'm going to file for divorce. Her face went pale. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then tears welled up in her eyes. I knew something was wrong, she whispered. I just didn't want to believe it. I moved to sit beside her, putting my arm around her shoulders. I'm sorry you have to go through this. Does Jordan know? Courtney asked. Not yet. I'll tell him when the time's right. She wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? First, I'm protecting us. Financially, legally. Then I'm confronting her. But I need you to know something. I turned to face her fully. No matter what happens, you and Jordan are my priority. Always. Courtney hugged me tight. I'm on your side, Dad. Whatever you need. The next afternoon, I met with my attorney, Gerald Simmons. He was a bulldog in a suit, known for destroying opposing counsel in divorce court. This is solid, Gerald said, reviewing James's report. Adultery, clear intent to defraud marital assets. Texas is a community property state, but infidelity can affect the division. We can use this. I want the house, I said. I want primary custody, and I want her to know exactly what she's losing. Gerald smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then let's get to work. Over the next 2 weeks, I executed my plan with precision. I opened a separate bank account, transferred my direct deposits. I documented every shared expense, every asset, every debt. I changed passwords on accounts she'd never bothered to access anyway. I made copies of everything. Tax returns, mortgage documents, investment statements, the kids' school records. And then I scheduled the meeting. I texted Darlene. We need to talk. Saturday morning. Just us. It's important. Her response came an hour later. Fine. What's this about? You'll see. Saturday morning arrived. Darlene sat across from me at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, looking annoyed that I'd interrupted her weekend. All right, Roland. What's so urgent? She asked. I slid the manila envelope across the table. Open it. She frowned, pulled out the contents. Her face went from confused to shocked to white in about 10 seconds. Where did you get these? She breathed. Does it matter? I replied calmly. I know everything, Darlene. Adrian Thornhill. The hotel. The lies. All of it. Her hands trembled. Roland, I can explain. Don't. My voice was steel. I'm filing for divorce. My attorney already has the paperwork. You can respond through your lawyer. You can't do this, she said, panic creeping into her voice. I already have. Darlene didn't take the divorce filing well. She hired an attorney within 48 hours, some shark named Richard Brennan, who specialized in protecting women's rights in contentious divorces. Translation: He helped cheating wives squeeze every dollar out of their husbands. But I've been prepared for this. The first salvo came via email for Brennan's office. They were requesting full financial disclosure, claiming I'd been hiding assets and manipulating accounts. They wanted the house, half my retirement, spousal support, and shared custody of Jordan. Gerald laughed when he read it. "They're fishing," he said over the phone. "Standard intimidation tactics. Don't worry. We've got documentation of everything. They have nothing." "What about Courtney?" I asked. "Can they force her to testify?" "She's 18. She can choose. But given what you've told me, I don't think that's a concern." He was right. Courtney had already made her position clear. 2 days after I'd confronted Darlene, my daughter sat her mother down and told her exactly how she felt. I wasn't there for the conversation, but Courtney told me about it later. I asked her why. Courtney said, her voice tight with anger, "Why throw away our family for some guy?" And you know what she said? "What?" I asked. She said she deserved to be happy. That dad was emotionally unavailable, and she needed someone who understood her. Courtney's eyes filled with tears. "Like you haven't spent 20 years working to give us everything. Like you haven't been there for every recital, every game, every parent-teacher conference while she was out with her friends." I pulled her into a hug. "It's not your job to defend me, sweetheart." "Yes, it is," she said fiercely, "because someone has to tell her the truth. And clearly, it's not going to be her." The real blow came when I had to tell Jordan. He was 15, still young enough to believe his parents were invincible. I picked him up from basketball practice on a Thursday afternoon and drove him to a park instead of home. "What's going on, Dad?" he asked, confused. I took a breath. "Your mother and I are getting divorced." His face went pale. "What? What?" "She's been unfaithful. She's been seeing someone else for months." Jordan stared at me, processing. Then his jaw tightened. "Who?" "His name is Adrian Thornhill. He's not important. What's important is that this isn't your fault, and it doesn't change how much I love you." "Does Courtney know?" Jordan asked. "Yes. She's known for a few weeks." He nodded slowly, looking out the window. When he spoke again, his voice was cold in a way I'd never heard from him before. "I don't want to live with her," he said. "I want to stay with you." "Jordan, you don't have to decide right now." "I already decided," he interrupted. "She lied to all of us. She doesn't get to pretend everything's fine now." My son, who'd always been the peacemaker, the one who avoided conflict, had just drawn a line in the sand. And I realized Darlene had lost more than she'd ever understand. That night, Jordan refused to speak to his mother. When she tried to explain, to justify, to blame me for turning the kids against her, he just walked out of the room. Darlene called me, furious. "What did you tell him?" she demanded. "The truth," I said calmly. He asked, and I told him. "You're poisoning them against me." "I'm not doing anything. They're old enough to form their own opinions." And they have. She hung up on me. An hour later, I got a text from her attorney threatening legal action for parental alienation. Gerald's response was simple. "Bring it. We have evidence." They have excuses. 2 weeks into the divorce proceedings, Darlene made her first major mistake. She showed up in my office unannounced, demanding we talk like adults. Security called me before letting her up. I could have refused, but I wanted to see what she was playing at. I told them to send her up. She walked into my office looking composed, but I could see the cracks, dark circles under her eyes. Hair not as perfect as usual. The stress was getting to her. "Roland," she said, sitting down without being invited. "This has gone too far. We need to stop this before it destroys everything." "You destroyed everything 6 months ago," I replied evenly. "I'm just making it official." "I made a mistake," Darlene said, her voice softening. "I was lonely. You were always working. I felt invisible. So, you found someone to make you feel seen." I finished. "I read the emails, Darlene. You weren't lonely. You were planning. You told him you'd leave me once you figured out the finances." Her composure slipped. "You had no right to read those. And you had no right to betray 17 years of marriage. But here we are." She stood abruptly. "Fine. You want to play hardball? Let's play. My attorney is going after everything. The house, the retirement accounts, the kids' college funds. By the time we're done, you'll have nothing." I smiled. Not a happy smile. A dangerous one. "Your attorney can try," I said. "But Texas law doesn't favor adultery. And I have documentation of every lie, Every affair-related expense you charged to our joint account. Those hotel rooms. I can prove you paid for them. That jewelry you bought yourself last month. Also joint funds. You've been stealing from the marriage to fund your affair. Her face went white. So go ahead, I continued. Tell Richard Brennan to come at me with everything he's got. I'll bury you both. She left without another word. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mr. Harper. A man's voice. Smooth, confident. This is Adrian Thornhill. I went very still. What do you want? I want you to know I never meant to hurt anyone. Darlene and I, we just connected. It wasn't planned. Is there a point to this call? I asked coldly. I'm asking you to go easy on her in the divorce. She's a good person who made a mistake. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're calling to defend the woman you've been sleeping with behind my back. That takes nerve. I love her, Adrian said. Then you can have her, I replied. Along with all the debt she's been hiding, the maxed-out credit cards I just discovered, and the personality disorder that makes her incapable of taking responsibility for anything. Good luck with that. I hung up. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Elena. I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry. If you need anything, I'm here. I stared at the message. Elena, the woman who'd shown me kindness when I needed it most. Who'd seen me when my own wife couldn't be bothered. I typed back. Thank you. Can we meet for coffee this weekend? I'd like that. For the first time in weeks, something in my chest loosened. Maybe there was life after this after all. I met Elena for coffee on Saturday morning at a quiet place in Rice Village. She was already there when I arrived. 2 cups on the table. That same gentle smile I remembered from the night with the flowers. You remembered, I said, gesturing to the black coffee. Of course I did, she replied. How are you holding up? I sat down, exhaling slowly. Some days are better than others. The kids are struggling. Jordan had a rough week at school. Couldn't focus. That's understandable. Their whole world is shifting. We talked for an hour. About the divorce, about my kids, about how strange it felt to dismantle a life I'd spent 2 decades building. Elena listened without judgment, without trying to fix anything. She just listened. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Anything. That night, when you defended the flowers. Why did you do that? Elena was quiet for a moment, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. Because I saw something in your face that I recognized. The look of someone who's been invisible for too long. What do you mean? She took a breath. I was married once. For 8 years. He never saw me either. Just went through the motions. When I finally left, I swore I'd never ignore kindness again. Those flowers weren't just flowers. They were effort, thought, and your wife threw them back in your face. I'm sorry you went through that, I said. Don't be. It taught me what I deserve, and what I don't. She met my eyes. You deserve better than what she gave you, Roland. Something shifted between us in that moment. Not romance, not yet, but recognition, understanding. There's something else I need to tell you, Elena said, her expression turning serious. Something I found out recently. What is it? Darlene and I went to the same high school. Different years, but same school. I didn't realize it until I started asking around after that night. She paused. Roland, we knew each other 25 years ago. I was a freshman when you were a senior. I stared at her, pieces clicking into place. Elena Cross. You were. Elena Marsh back then. She finished. I had a different last name after my marriage. But yes, I remember you. You were kind even then. Always helping the younger kids with their homework in the library. The memory surfaced slowly. A shy freshman with braces and oversized glasses, always sitting alone with a book. I'd helped her with algebra a few times. You're that Elena, I said quietly. She smiled a little sad. I had the biggest crush on you, but you only had eyes for Darlene. She was the popular girl, the cheerleader. I was just a nerdy kid in the corner. Why didn't you say something that night? Because it wasn't about me. It was about you finally seeing what I saw all those years ago, that you were with someone who didn't deserve you. I didn't know what to say. The universe had a strange sense of humor, bringing her back into my life at the exact moment I needed someone who understood. I'm not the same person I was in high school, I said. Neither am I, Elena replied. But some things don't change. You're still kind, still trying to do the right thing, even when it hurts. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. I should tell you, I said carefully, I'm not looking to jump into anything. The divorce isn't even final yet. I know, Elena said. I'm not asking you to. I just want you to know that you have a friend. Someone who sees you. Thank you, I said. That means more than you know. When I left the coffee shop, I felt lighter. Not healed, not whole, but less alone. That feeling lasted exactly 4 hours. Because when I got home, I found Darlene in my driveway, screaming at Courtney. I pulled into the driveway to find Darlene, standing nose to nose with Courtney, her face red with fury. Jordan was on the porch, phone out, clearly recording. I was out of the car in seconds. What's going on? I demanded. Darlene whirled on me. Your daughter just told me she refuses to testify on my behalf in court. She's choosing you over her own mother. I didn't choose anyone. Courtney shot back, her voice shaking but firm. You made your choice when you started sleeping with Adrian. I'm just being honest about what I saw. You saw nothing. Darlene screamed. I saw you lying to Dad for months. Courtney yelled back. I saw you come home, late smelling like cologne that wasn't his. I saw you delete messages when he walked in a room. Don't tell me I saw nothing. I stepped between them. Darlene, you need to leave. This is still my house too, she said. Actually, it's not, I replied calmly. The temporary orders gave me primary residence. You're only allowed here for scheduled pickups. This isn't one of them. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're so smart, don't you? Turning my own children against me. I didn't have to turn anyone, I said. You did that yourself. She looked at Courtney, then Jordan, then back at me. Something in her expression crumbled. I never meant for any of this to happen, she whispered. But it did, I said. And now we all have to live with your choices. Darlene's phone rang. She glanced at it, then back at me. This isn't over, Roland. She got her car and drove off. I turned to Courtney, who was crying now, all her bravado gone. Come here, sweetheart, I said, pulling her into a hug. I hate her, Courtney sobbed. I hate what she did to us. I know, but you can't let that hate consume you. She's still your mother, even if she's made terrible choices. Jordan came down from the porch, still holding his phone. I got the whole thing on video, just in case we need it. I looked at my son, 15 years old, and already thinking strategically. It broke my heart. Good thinking, I said. Send it to me. That night, after the kids went to bed, I sat in my office and reviewed Jordan's video. Darlene's rage, her accusations, her complete lack of self-awareness. All documented. I forwarded it to Gerald with a note. More evidence of her instability. His response came within minutes. Perfect. This helps our custody case significantly. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. How did the rest of your day go? I typed back. Complicated. But I'm managing. Want to talk about it? Not tonight. But thank you for earlier. It helped. Anytime. Get some rest, Roland. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair. The divorce proceedings were escalating. Darlene was becoming more desperate, more erratic. But I had my kids. I had documentation. I had a good attorney. And maybe, just maybe, I had a chance at something real with someone who actually saw me. But first, I had to finish dismantling the life I'd built with a woman who'd never valued it. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks from now. Gerald assured me we had a strong case. The affair, the lies, Darlene's hostile behavior toward the children, all of it painted a clear picture. The judge is going to see through her act, Gerald said, especially with Courtney willing to testify. What about Jordan? I asked. He's a minor, but the court can interview him privately if needed. Based on that video, I don't think it'll come to that. 3 weeks. 3 weeks until we faced each other in court and let a stranger decide the fate of our family. I could do 3 weeks. I had to. The courthouse in downtown Houston was everything I expected. Sterile, impersonal, designed to strip away emotion and focus on facts. Gerald met me outside the courtroom, his briefcase in one hand, confidence radiating from every pore. Ready, he asked. As I'll ever be, I replied. Courtney sat beside me in the gallery. Jordan had been excused from attending, but he'd written a letter to the judge that Gerald planned to submit. Across the aisle, Darlene sat with Richard Brennan, looking composed but brittle, like glass about to shatter. The judge, Honorable Margaret Flynn, was in her 60s, known for being no-nonsense and favoring children's welfare above all else. She reviewed the documents in front of her for several minutes before speaking. This is a petition for divorce with contested custody, Judge Flynn said. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties. Mr. Brennan, your client wishes to present her case first. Brennan stood. Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Harper has been the primary caregiver for the children throughout the marriage. Mr. Harper worked long hours, often absent from family activities. She believes the children's best interests are served by maintaining their primary relationship with her. It was a stretch, and everyone in that room knew it. Darlene had never been the primary caregiver. I'd been at every parent-teacher conference, every game, every recital. Gerald stood. Your Honor, we have documentation showing Mr. Harper attended 90% of all school events over the past 5 years. Mrs. Harper attended less than 40%. Additionally, we have evidence of Mrs. Harper's extramarital affair, which she funded using joint marital assets, and her hostile behavior toward the children when they expressed their preference to live with their father. Judge Flynn looked at Darlene. Mrs. Harper, is the affair admitted or contested? Darlene's attorney whispered something to her. She stood slowly. Admitted, Your Honor. But I don't believe a personal mistake should cost me my children. A personal mistake, Judge Flynn repeated, her tone dry. Mr. Simmons, I understand you have testimony from the minor child. Yes, Your Honor. Courtney Harper, age 18, wishes to speak on behalf of herself and her brother. Courtney stood, walked to the witness stand, and was sworn in. Her voice shook at first, but grew stronger as she spoke. My father has always been there for us, she said. He worked hard to provide, but he never missed what mattered. Mom was the one who was always busy with her friends, always out. When we found out about the affair, Jordan and I felt betrayed. Not just for Dad, but for our whole family. We want to live with him because he's proven we can trust him. Mom hasn't. I watched Darlene's face crumble as her daughter spoke. Part of me felt sorry for her. Most of me felt nothing. Judge Flynn asked a few clarifying questions, then dismissed Courtney. She reviewed Jordan's letter silently, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. I'm granting primary custody to Mr. Harper. Mrs. Harper will have supervised visitation twice a month until such time as the children agree to unsupervised visits. The marital home will be awarded to Mr. Harper. Assets will be divided equitably, with consideration for Mrs. Harper's use of joint funds for extramarital purposes. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck. It was over. Darlene stood abruptly and left without looking at me. Brennan followed, already on his phone. Gerald shook my hand. Congratulations. You got everything you wanted. I looked at Courtney, who was crying with relief. Not everything, but enough. Outside the courthouse, I found Elena waiting by her car. She'd taken the day off work to be there, even though I told her she didn't need to. How'd it go? She asked. I got custody. The house. Everything. She smiled, genuinely happy for me. That's wonderful, Roland. Thank you for being here, I said. It means more than you know. Always, she replied. For months later, life had settled into a new rhythm. Courtney had started college at Rice University, close enough to visit on weekends. Jordan was thriving in his sophomore year, his grades improving now that the tension at home had disappeared. Darlene saw the kids twice a month, always supervised by a court-appointed monitor. The visits were awkward, stilted conversations where she tried to reclaim a relationship she destroyed. Courtney went out of obligation. Jordan went because I encouraged him to give his mother a chance. She's trying, I told him one evening after a particularly difficult visit. Not hard enough, Jordan replied. She still blames you for everything. That's a problem, not ours. Adrian Thornhill had apparently moved on, according to Shannon, who'd remained oddly neutral through the whole ordeal. Darlene was living in a small apartment in the Galleria area, working part-time at a marketing firm, a far cry from the life she'd had. I didn't take pleasure in her downfall. I just didn't care anymore. Elena and I had been dating for 2 months. We took it slow, mindful of the kids, mindful of the wounds still healing. But it felt right. Easy. Like coming home after a long journey. One Saturday afternoon, I took her to the house. Jordan was at basketball practice. Courtney was at the library. We had the place to ourselves. This is where you grew up? Elena asked, looking at the family photos still on the wall. Where we all grew up, I corrected. It's different now. Better, I think. She smiled. You've made it yours. We sat on the back porch, drinking iced tea, watching the sun set over the oak trees in the yard. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Anything. Do you ever regret it? The divorce, all of it. I thought about it honestly. I regret that my kids had to go through it. I regret the years I wasted not seeing who Darlene really was. But leaving? No. That was the best decision I ever made. Good, she said, taking my hand. Because I'm glad you're here. Me too. That evening, I gathered Jordan and Courtney for dinner. It had become our tradition, Saturday night family dinners, just the three of us. Dad, can I ask you something? Courtney said over dessert. Of course. Are you happy? Really happy. I looked at my daughter, then at my son, both of them watching me with concern that shouldn't be their burden to carry. Yes, I said honestly. For the first time in a long time, I am. Jordan grinned. Is it because of Elena? Partly, I admitted. But mostly it's because of you two. You're the best thing I ever did. Courtney's eyes welled up. We love you, Dad. I love you both. More than anything. 8 months after the divorce was finalized, Elena and I got engaged. It was a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Courtney was maid of honor. Jordan walked Elena down the aisle since her father had passed years ago. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, I half expected Darlene to burst through the doors. But she didn't. She wasn't even invited. The reception was at a vineyard outside the city. As Elena and I danced our first dance, I looked around at the people who mattered. My kids, smiling. My brother, raising a glass. Friends who'd stood by me through everything. What are you thinking? Elena whispered. That I'm glad I gave you those flowers, I said. She laughed. Best decision you ever made. Second best. I corrected. Marrying you is the first. We kissed as the sun set behind us, and for the first time in years, I felt complete. Not because I'd found someone new, but because I'd finally found myself again.